Today we're talking top 4 opening scenes with a special guest. What's up, everyone? You're watching the VHS Files. I'm Josh. Here with me, as always, is Eric. And Jason's not with us tonight. So Jason's on a much-needed vacation. But in his place, we brought in a big gun. From Not a Bomb Podcast, we have Brad. Brad, how you doing tonight, bud?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Welcome, Brad.
Hey. Greetings and salutations. Big guns.
You got big shoes to fill. You got to fill Jason's shoes tonight, man. How do you feel about that?
Ooh, so I talk about Halloween over and over and over again?
You have to mention The Crow at least 3 times.
Okay, comic books.
Venom, you got to bring up Venom every once in a while. Spider-Man.
You and I are sharing one brain. One of those things? Okay, there you go.
So you and I have to mind meld through this entire episode. I hope you're ready. We thought it would be fun to bring Brad on for one of our top 4 episodes. And tonight we are doing top 4 opening scenes in movies. So how did you guys feel about opening scenes? Was this a tough one for you guys to make a list on? Did you scribble 4 down real quick? Tell me what was going on in your heads.
I immediately had my 4.
Wow. I wasn't even that sure of my 4.
I think this one's a little bit more straightforward than some of the ones we've had before. Some require some deep dives, but I do think this one is a little bit, I think we might have some overlap between us. We'll see. But I think there are some stellar opening scenes in films that stand above the rest, and we might have some overlap, but we'll see how it goes.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
There's one movie in particular I'm wondering if all 3 of us are going to have, but that's just me thinking about things.
We better.
Oh yeah.
We better.
You know, opening scenes can mean a lot of things, but I mean, I'm thinking like what leads up to your title card reveal, or at least what brings you into the movie. And I kind of went on like the movies that affected me on that first time watch. I remember watching that first scene of the movie and it was like, holy I've got to watch the rest of this movie. And that's kind of where I pulled from with these movies, or for whatever reason, the opening scene was just something that blew my mind. Did you guys come at it from the same perspective, or did you have particular things, like Brad, you said you got yours real fast. Is it just because you have those movies on hand all the time, or it was just one of those categories where it's like, oh no, I know for sure? No,
I know for sure because I'm a loser and I think about things like this all the time about like onboarding, how films like onboard the audience and let them know like, here is what you can expect for the next 2 hours. Here is the tone and the music and everything that makes a film. The first however minutes long, this is our introduction to how we want the audience to feel at the very beginning. And I remember vividly being in the theater for all of these and being affected by them. So
Eric, you kind of the same way?
Well, yeah, fairly. I not every movie has an opening scene that sort of sits separately from the rest of the film, right? So some movies just sort of get right into the narrative, and some movies have these sort of opening scenes that sort of sit separately. They usually establish some kind of exposition or a tone, like Brad was saying. They'll set the tone for the film. When you think of it that way, when you think of some of these movies that have this sort of opening segment that is sort of a setup scene, those are the ones to me that rise to the top.
Yeah,
of course. And then you have to look at those and you go, okay, what movie lives up to its opening scene, and what opening scene really delivers by the end, and you can go back to that beginning and be like, yeah, that thing hit. It told me what I was in for, and it's exactly what I got. So yeah, that was kind of my mentality.
And that was actually one of the things that kind of pulled back on a couple of the movies that I was thinking about for this, is while the opening scene may have been something that is memorable, maybe it didn't draw me in as much as something else did. So it was one of those things too, when I was doing the research for this, is like, like you just mentioned, Eric, not all movies have that just oomph, that pizzazz of an opening scene that brings you right into a movie. A lot of things, most movies will take the slower route and kind of get to the story slow and just sort of bring you in at their own pace. And I'm just a sucker for movies that immediately, like within the first 5, 10, whatever minutes, they're just like, nope, we've got you. let's do this, my man. Let's fucking rock this movie real quick. You know?
Well, I think the blockbuster is certainly something known for sort of the opening scene.
Right.
You know, a lot of these movies that I'm looking at for this list were blockbuster movies. And one thing I'm curious to see if any Bond ends up on your list, as you've been, you know, exploring the Bond films. Famously, the Bond movies always open with a little
the cold opens,
basically.
The cold opens,
so I'm curious to see if any Bond. I mean, you've only barely scratched the surface of Bond in your.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just now wetting my feet into the Roger Moore era, but I mean, already, I will say no Bond made my top 4, but there's definitely a case to be made. From Russia with Love has a killer opening scene. One that just kind of throws the viewer for a loop. You're introduced to the villain of the movie right there in the beginning, Mr. Robert Shaw. It's definitely my favorite Bond cold open that I've seen so far. So it's funny.
Yeah, and you're way early.
Yeah.
You got quite a few to get through.
So yeah, definitely check out me and our friend Nathan's show on the channel for New Eyes Only. We talk about Bond movies. I'm watching them all for the first time, so head over and check those out.
Let's get this over with, shall we?
Without further ado, let's get into our top 4 opening scenes. And since we have a guest with us tonight, Brad, we're going to let you kick off with your number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is a film from 2011. It is probably one of my favorite films of the last 20 years. It is Drive.
You give me a time and a place, I give you a 5-minute window. Anything happens in that 5 minutes and I'm yours. No matter what. Anything happens a minute either side of that and you're on your own.
You get Driver laying out the rules. You get the music, tick of the clock. You get the Cranston, and then you basically get the Clippers on the radio, and it lasts, it's a good 10 minutes, and it basically lays out how this film is going to be. Ryan Gosling's character is going to be real quiet and calculated. The music is going to slap, and there's going to be some really cool driving, but it's just going to be a different film. And it starts off when I was in the theater seeing that film, I was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my entire life after that first 10 minutes. And I mean, it really goes from there too, but that first 10 minutes is unbelievable.
The music in that movie is amazing. I still listen to that soundtrack from time to time.
Night Call is great.
Oh my
Tick the
God.
Clock, all of it is so good.
When that title card drops and that song comes in, it's and I'm gonna go ahead and contribute to the conversation, and I'm already surprised that this is happening. Brad, Drive is my number 4.
Nice. Okay.
So,
even the font, even like when it has the credits with the gold, with the neon pink cursive, I'm just like, oh, I love this.
But honestly,
the style in that movie's nuts.
And I have this on for, I think, the opposite reason you do, Brad, because I feel like the opening scene of Drive makes you prepared for a movie that you don't really get in the end. And I think that's a lot of what people had a problem with this movie originally. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it at home, and I was blown away by the opening scene. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, this is going to be good. I'm game. Everything Brad just said, I'm ready for. And then I was a bit surprised at how much it doesn't really dive into the action and the chases. Like, you really get a lot less of that.
Sure, it's maybe a little slower than people expected.
I love the fact that the game is on from the moment you see him talking on the phone. He's meticulously planned out every single inch of what's going to happen and what we're about to see. And then the fact that it ends with that, where he pulls into the parking lot with the game and walks away. Like, it was one of those where it's like, God damn, that is the coolest shit I've seen. But I don't feel like you really get another one of those in Drive. And that's what makes it stand out to me. Like, you do get some action sequences throughout, but it's nothing like that first beginning sequence in the movie.
Yeah, I was just more talking about like the character building that takes place in the first 10 minutes.
Oh, true.
Yeah, you understand what he's like, and then you understand what he's capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's being quiet the rest of the film, you know what he's capable of. You know he's good at what he does.
He's 3 or 4 moves ahead of everyone else.
And was this everybody's first experience with Nicholas Winding Refn?
No.
Yeah.
No? It was definitely mine. What had you seen previous to this, Brad?
Valhalla Rising.
Ooh, that's been on my list for years, dude, and I have not watched it yet.
Cross it off. It's good.
The Northman kind of gave me some vibes from Valhalla Rising.
Yep, for sure.
A little bit.
Well, I like the Northman, so that's cool.
Winding Refn is one of those directors that pulls from all the directors that I love. You know, he's definitely inspired by David Lynch and David Cronenberg and all those things. He's got these just crazy stints of horror that happen in his movies just out of nowhere, which I think pulls from that sort of David Lynch, David Cronenberg direction.
I'm good on Winding Refn except for Only God Forgives. I hated that movie.
I skipped that one.
I've been trying to force feed it ever since I saw it. And that one coming right off of Drive I think that's why that one struck a weird nerve for everybody, because
I think so too. The deviation from Drive to Only God Forgives is so vast that it's hard to appreciate it for what it is, because it's not Drive.
And you've got the same actor in there, which is even
might have been a mistake.
Essentially could be playing the same character in a sense, you know, like it's just a completely different feel. But I think after I started getting a love for Lynch movies, I went back and watched Only God Forgives, and it kind of sat with me a little bit better, even though it's still going to be a gut punch to people expecting something like Drive coming into that movie. You're going to be severely butthurt by the end of that.
Yeah, but I like Neon Demon.
Neon Demon I liked a lot.
Ooh, Neon Demon's great. Yeah, I like that as well.
But yeah, I mean, Winding Refn is one that I definitely keep my eye on. Anytime I hear he's directing something, I'm usually gonna seek it out. It's just that first episode of his TV show didn't really bring me in. So, but maybe I'll get back to it at some point. But there you go. That's mine and Brad's number 4. We're matching up already.
Sharing a brain.
All right, my number 4 is 2006's Children of Men. I love that movie, and this is a great example of cleverly setting up a film. You know, you got a news report, you get what year it is, you get the youngest person in the world just died.
Diego Ricardo, the youngest person on the planet, was 18.
Our main guy, he walks out, we see him pouring some whiskey into his coffee, so clearly he's, you know, struggling a bit himself, and then we see the explosion. Boom.
Kaboom.
And then that moment with that woman walking with her arm, and then it cuts to the title screen. You're just like, damn, like this shit is wild. And the rest of the movie was excellent. And it's another long shot, which you get later in the film. You get one of the greatest. Oh, the car shot. Yeah.
Oh, the oneer. Oh my God, so good.
Yeah. So, you know, you get this is set up as a long shot. You get some more excellent long shots later. It was only 2027 too. So we're not that far away.
Yeah, we're not that far away.
I love near future sci-fi, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. Near future is like, there's an unsettling element to that. Go like, oh, that's not that far away. If you're getting into like year 4000, I don't care. But you're like 2027? Yeah. Oh, shit.
Battlefield Earth. You don't care about that. But
no. Well, we'll see.
We're so close to The Handmaid's Tale, it's not even funny.
I know.
I have to say, Children of Men was a huge bomb, and therefore it was actually the first episode of Not a Bomb. So if you're curious,
I did not know that. I need to maybe go back and hit that up. I love Children of Men. I'm curious to see what you guys think.
It's a movie that I haven't seen a ton, but it's because I feel like it's like an Aronofsky movie in the sense that it's such a fucking bummer. It's one of those movies that's so good, but you don't want to watch it because it's so fucking sad, you know? It's like Requiem for a Dream or something like that. It's like, it's such a good movie. I wouldn't put it
quite at that level of sadness, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's a bit of a bleak film.
All right, well, that was Eric's number 4. We're moving on. Number 3, Brad, give us your number 3.
Yeah, so I saw this film opening weekends, and about the first, 20 minutes or so, maybe not that long, 15 minutes, we're just kind of following one character around as he does stuff. And I remember vividly a man in the theater looks over to his wife and says, "Honey, we're leaving. This guy hasn't said anything this whole time." And they walked out. They walked out of There Will Be Blood, which is one of the best movies of all time. Paul Thomas Anderson, Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, that's basically all you need to know. Daniel Plainview is probably one of my favorite villains of all time. God, it has some gut-wrenching scenes, but that, again, it just sets up this guy and his sort of determination, even as he falls down and breaks his leg and climbs out and does, all this stuff. And hey, guess what? There Will Be Blood is a pretty good movie. I don't know if you guys know this or not. Yeah, I vividly remember this guy just getting up and leaving. And I was shocked because I was enthralled, and this other guy was completely annoyed by the fact that there was hardly anything really going on, right?
Yeah.
Like people weren't getting shot or there wasn't a high-speed chase. It was a period piece about oil, and this guy was having none of it. So,
well, I mean, just the pump breaking and that piece falling down on the guy in the oil and like busting his head open, like that was enough to make that stick with me.
Yeah, it sets up the danger of what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's that and the end of the movie are really the only two things that I really have a good grip on remembering. The middle of the movie, I haven't seen it enough to be able to get into all of that.
The explosion, you don't remember the explosion?
Well, now that you say that, yeah. I do, but it doesn't come to mind immediately. But that beginning piece and then the end of the movie definitely stick with you. I didn't even consider that one, so yeah, that's a good pick there, Brad. I like that.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'll go next since I kind of went next last time. My number 3 is a movie that came out in the 90s. I'm not sure the year because I didn't do that much research, but I found out later in life that it was connected to Tarantino, which kind of makes me understand why I was drawn to it. But it's 1994, I think's Natural Born Killers.
Shit, man. I'm a natural born killer.
Ooh, yes.
Oh, shit.
The opening scene of Natural Born Killers, I vividly remember watching in my living room and not understanding what the hell I was watching on TV.
God almighty, what the hell is that?
All I knew is Woody Harrelson was in this crazy ass movie. But the fact that it sets up these two people, it keeps switching back and forth from black and white to color. You get all these cartoony moments. You get introduced to Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis, their characters, Mickey and Mallory. The entire conversation about key lime pie is just like, I was enamored with just the fact that they were talking about key lime pie, which I had never eaten at that point in my life, was so enthralling to me.
Well, I ain't had key lime pie in 10 years.
When you had it, did you like it?
Aren't you from the South?
I am from the South.
Oh, okay.
And it might be because
Not South enough.
It might be because the key lime pie that's in the scene looks nothing like real key lime pie. It's almost like a neon green, which key lime pie is not neon green. Once you get Juliette Lewis standing up, turning on the jukebox, dancing over in the corner, and it's like, what is this movie I'm about to watch?
Are you flirting with me?
When Shit List literally drops onto the fucking record player in the jukebox and starts playing, and Juliette Lewis commences to kick in this redneck's ass, I was like, what in the fucking world am I watching? It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen at that point in my life, because I had never seen anything like this. Had you guys ever experienced a movie like that?
I was way too young.
But that was part of the thing with it, is I was young watching that movie, and I was just like, I have never seen anybody make a movie like this before.
Are you a Natural Born Killers guy, or are you a True Romance guy?
They're kind of on the same playing field for me. They could be interchangeable, honestly.
I'm kind of the same way.
If you have to choose, I don't know why we have to choose, but if you do, I'm True Romance all the way.
I'm probably that way, but if you ask me tomorrow, it might be Natural Born Killers as well. It changes.
I'm kind of a baby. Like, Natural Born Killers is like so brutal. I can't connect with the characters because they're just so awful. Like, I need somebody that's a little more relatable.
And that might be a lot of people's problem with that movie, is you can't connect to the characters because they're fucking psychopaths.
Yeah, they're psychopaths. Yeah.
But
Josh can.
I can, absolutely can. I'm apparently a closeted psychopath. But the fact that you've also got like Robert Downey Jr.'s in that movie. I completely forget that Robert Downey Jr. is a character in that movie.
Rodney Dangerfield's in
Rodney Dangerfield. Tommy Lee Jones.
Tom Sizemore.
You forget all of these great actors are giving great performances in this movie, but
it's not a feel-good movie, yeah, for sure.
I will never forget the opening of that movie because it stuck with me when I was a kid. And it's just, I think that's where my love for Tarantino started without even knowing that Tarantino was involved with that movie at that time. But that would be my number 3. Eric, what's yours?
I'll go with a movie that changed the landscape of blockbusters, a movie that changed the landscape of action films. And I think its opening scene did a good job of establishing like, oh shit, this is different. 1999's The Matrix.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what The Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
Oh.
You get some intro with Trinity, and then Trinity has to escape the Matrix. She's being chased by police. She jumps into the air in a cool ass position, and you get your first like what do they call that, bullet time shot, and you're just like, holy shit. And Trinity is cool as shit. That whole escape where she just barely escapes through the phone tells you how to escape, tells you how serious it is when you're in there, how
green things are going to be,
how green everything is, tells you how dirty hallways are, tells you how black leather can be or vinyl. And it's a great, it sets up the world, it sets up the look, and damn, is it just like thrilling as all hell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did anyone see that in the theater?
I did.
I might have.
When she jumped in the air, people lost their mind.
I mean, you've never seen anything like that.
Little had never seen anything like that. When the camera spins around, people were like, you would have thought people were having heart attacks in the theater.
I remember there being a big buzz about The Matrix because I didn't see it right away, and that's, everybody went and saw it. Everybody started making this big buzz about it. Then I finally went and saw it. I saw it in a theater with maybe like 5 people, and the guy that went with me had already seen it, but he was like, "I'll go see it again." He fell asleep while we were watching. I was like, "You're not selling this movie on me, man."
And this wasn't Jason?
No, this was not Jason.
Oh, just checking.
Dude, Matrix. I didn't even think about that one.
Really?
It was one of the ones that came to
my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same to you, Brad?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's Mr. Anderson.
Now you guys are starting to brain meld.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Chainsaw and Dave over here.
Oh, I gotta tell you, I love this film.
All right, well, we're going through these fast. So, Brad, we're on to number 2 for you. Number 2.
Yeah,
Brad.
so this one would be, I think, the kickoff to modern horror films, and it is 1996's Scream.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
The opening of Scream is the greatest horror film opening of all time.
What did you say?
When Casey gets killed, it just is the brutalness of it. The guy calling it. I mean, it's been parodied now so many times that it's kind of hard to take serious. But, watching it at the time, and he's in the house, and then he, comes up behind her and stabs her. I don't know if I remember Freddy or Jason really being that sort of gruesome. And that just could be me misremembering, but I remember Ghostface killing Casey from behind and just being like, this is something I'd never seen before. Because it was like the first horror film to me that I was like old enough to see while it was out.
Mm-hmm.
I had gone back, obviously, and seen Friday the 13th and Nightmare and Halloween and Texas Chainsaw, all those. But this one to me is like, oh, this is when modern horror kind of comes into my life. And so, Kevin Williamson's excellent script that's been, again, tried. Look at all the urban legends and I Know What You Did Last Summers and all that stuff that tries to, steal this. But yeah, it's great.
The fact that nobody expected Drew Barrymore to die. She was on the posters. You assume she's the final girl. They break that rule immediately. They kill off the quote final girl unquote. right away. It was a gut punch. Your jaw dropped, and
then at that point in
I
time,
remember seeing that
you can't raise the stakes any higher than that.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know if a movie had been that ballsy with its main character, well, quote unquote main character, when you introduced them in the movie since Psycho. I mean,
your biggest draw, your biggest name in your movie.
Yeah. I mean that
dead
was
in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean we all gush about Neve Campbell as the it girl in Scream now, but at that point in time when we were hearing about Scream, it was that Drew Barrymore was in that movie. We didn't even really give a shit about Neve Campbell at that point in time.
Yeah.
She was just on a.
I still don't.
Hey.
But yeah.
Apparently the Scream franchise doesn't either.
No, they don't. Eric's not too crazy about the Scream franchise either. I mean, I don't think he can deny that opening scene in the first Scream is the.
I believe I said it. You can pull the clip if you want. I believe I gave it its due in our Scream episode. But it's great. I agree. That's a great choice.
I agree with you there, Brad. I don't have it on my list, but I was thinking it probably would be on one of ours.
I'll be right back.
But that'll bring me to my number 2, and this is going to a theater experience, and for a movie that kind of harkens back to a movie that meant so much to me as a young one, is. We've already done an episode on Batman 89 and how much I really wanted to see that when I was a kid and how much Batman meant to me. And we've talked about how much Batman means to all of us. When they announced that they were doing The Dark Knight and Heath Ledger was going to be playing the Joker, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to like this, but but I went to that theater, and when the first 10 minutes of this movie happened, I was like, I'm on board, because the beginning of The Dark Knight is one of the best opening sequences in a fucking movie, period.
Yep, I agree.
You and your friends are dead.
and any notion that I would have thought that Heath Ledger couldn't pull that part off, he changed my mind in that opening sequence.
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
Ledger's Joker is just crazy.
Yeah.
I liked him already. I knew he was a good actor. I think most of us probably felt that way, but yeah, you didn't know what you were going to get. He made something so unique.
I don't know if there's another scene where an actor really just pulls their dick out and just says, here it is. Like,
yeah,
checkmate. Like,
Heath Ledger knocked it out of the park for me, and went on to, not just in the opening scene of The Dark Knight, kill it for the entire fucking movie, and blew me away. And that's why it's at my number 2. Why don't you give me your number 2 there, Eric, buddy?
My number 2, this one might, I might get some pushback on this one, because you could make an argument that this isn't quite an opening scene, but I think it's close enough, and it's our podcast, and who cares? But I would say the storming of Normandy in Saving Private Ryan. I've seen a lot of war films. Wow. I mean, what can you say about that scene? It is brutal. It is wonderfully executed. It's one of the most amazing few minutes of film, period. Talking about its place in the film and its importance in the film, it certainly gives you an idea of the danger that everyone's in and the stakes that they're dealing with. And it just recreates a moment in history in a way that is tough to say that anyone did it better. I mean, that it's just, it feels like you're there. It puts you in the middle of the storming of Normandy. What else can you say? I don't know. It's just crazy.
You got to give it up to Spielberg, man. If anything, like if you doubted anything Spielberg did up until that point, it's like, whether he's getting into family friendly territory or not making the movies that you enjoyed when he was in his 20s, like this was, again, to reference Brad's reference, him throwing his dick out and going,
this is Spielberg's dick.
I can do this. And does he? And like the thing that sticks with me in that scene is when you see the water rushing up onto the shore, and it's just
all red. Yeah,
it's just red. And it's there you go with Spielberg and his play of the color red again, just messing with your emotions. But Yeah, man. I didn't see that movie in theaters. I saw it a few years after, and that was one of those where it's just like you watch it with your jaw on the floor and you can't really. It's like you don't know how to feel about it except knowing you just watched a master filmmaker throw his dick out on the table, man.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, it blows me away, and it's not a movie I watch all the time. I assume there aren't people that watch that movie all the time, but boy, when it comes on, it's just like, wow, I can't believe how good this is.
I forget how many people are in that movie, dude.
Oh,
like,
there's a lot.
So many people in that movie.
Between that and Thin Red Line, two of that era, like the amount of names in those movies are.
Yeah, because we all thought Barry Pepper was going to be like the biggest actor of all time coming out of Saving Private Ryan. You thought it. Don't lie. You thought Barry Pepper was going to be in your life for a long time.
Don't tell me what I thought.
I fucking forgot Vin Diesel was in it, man. I remember we watched it not too long ago, and I remember when Vin Diesel came on screen, I was like, holy fuck, dude, I forgot he was in this.
The Diesel.
All right, well, that's Eric's number 2, Saving Private Ryan. So before we get to our number 1s, we're going to go ahead and throw out a handful of our honorable mentions. So we'll go ahead and throw it over to Brad.
So I wanted to think a little bit outside the box for my honorable mentions. So I have the first one, which is arguably the only good part of this movie. It is Belly, the Hype Williams film.
I actually haven't seen that.
I haven't seen Belly either.
They basically open up on DMX and Nas kind of walking through this strip club. Then they walk through these like black lights and to like basically get to the bathroom, and then they kill a guy. It's the best part of Belly by a long shot. And I like that movie. It's basically like a Hype Williams video for the first few minutes, which is great.
And you're kind of a hip hop guy, right?
Yes, very much so. Yeah. So seeing DMX and Nas get out of they got out of a car together is pretty cool. My second one was Full Metal Jacket with the Hello Vietnam by Johnny Wright.
Ooh.
And shaving all their heads and then going directly into Arlie Ermy, just tearing people some new assholes for a while.
Who the fuck said that? Who's the slimy little communist shit twinkle-toed cocksucker down here who just signed his own death warrant?
And again, that does a great job of onboarding people on like, this is how this movie is going to be. And then my last one is another film that I love quite a bit, and it's Rounders. It's when Mike goes and does his first little game with Teddy KGB, and we get to hear John Malkovich's accent that he does. And still to this day, I love that interview with Matt Damon where he was at the table read and he does it for the first time.
Like we're talking like this, and suddenly the action, if you don't have my money, and the crew bursts into applause. They're cheering. They're like, wow, amazing, amazing. And I'm looking at him, and I guess he sees me looking at him. And he leans across the table, and I lean in, and he looks at me, and he goes, I'm a terrible actor. And it was just, it's literally one of my favorite things that's ever happened on a movie.
Teddy KGB is one of my favorite characters, but if we were doing ending sequences, Rounders might be my favorite ending of a movie.
Maybe add that to the list, Josh. That's an interesting
take. For sure.
Or final scenes, or
I haven't seen Rounders in forever, man. It's been a long time. All right, I guess I'll go ahead and throw mine out there. My first one, maybe stirring up some controversy out there. I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm going with Friday the 13th, the one from 2009, the remake.
Ooh, no, I like that one.
Whoa,
that's the best part of that movie.
A lot of people have a problem with this movie as a remake of essentially the first 4 Friday the 13th movies. I think it's a great representation of what happens within the first 4 movies of that series, and the opening of this one is just great. I mean, it's, let me see, I wrote it down here. It's 23 minutes and 52 seconds till you get the title card smash at the beginning of that.
That's awesome. I kind of love that. I haven't seen this movie, Josh.
When he runs out of the forest and hits that girl with the machete in the head, that's my favorite kill in the whole series. Well, it's not. It's
worth watching. It's worth watching just the first 23 minutes for that opening scene. You don't even have to watch the rest of it.
And there's gratuitous nudity in that beginning too.
You get everything you're in store for in those first 23 minutes of this movie. I tell you what. But there's that one. I'm gonna go with. I know I'm on a show right now with 2 guys who don't really appreciate musicals the way I do, but The opening sequence of La La Land.
I thought that might be on your list because I know you're a La La Land fan. I like La La Land.
And it's just, again, went to the theater, saw it. I have a thing for musicals. It gave me Singing in the Rain vibes. And the fact that they shut down the LA freeway and filmed that scene.
Yeah, it's just an impressive undertaking. Like, it's just an impressive feat to have done that with all that. And yeah, I agree. It's pretty amazing.
It's another day of sun.
When it smashes to that title card, La La Land, it almost kind of makes me emotional, man. I'm like, I don't see movies like this anymore.
Part of what I love about watching old movies, and La La Land captures that in a great way, is lots of extras. That's so much now, because now it's so easy to just fill in a crowd. They don't even put people in, if you've got an auditorium full of people, they don't even put them in anymore. They CGI it all. I mean,
that's what's so hard about that ending sequence of Bohemian Rhapsody is I can tell that they're not in fucking Live Aid,
right.
It looks fake as shit.
that was your problem with Bohemian Rhapsody?
Well, I haven't seen that movie.
A lot more problems with Bohemian Rhapsody.
I agree, Josh. When you see somebody take the effort to put all these people, choreograph all these people.
Yeah.
I'm not a big musical guy, but I do like La La Land. That's one of the few musicals I enjoy, and that scene is incredible because they're all in sync. They're all amazing. Every person on screen is amazingly talented, and there's freaking hundreds of them. I mean, it's just nuts.
And you don't even have your starring cast in that opening sequence. It's literally just the people dancing and singing.
And it's a great song, and it's a great. I mean, all of it's great. Yeah,
it's
good.
And my last one I'm going to throw out there, which may, I don't know. We'll just go ahead and put it out there. I'm going to say my last one is Pulp Fiction.
Pretty smart, huh?
Pretty smart.
Okay.
That crossed my mind.
While it's not the most exciting opening sequence, again, the first time I saw it, I was like, the fuck is this movie I'm about to watch? And it's a movie my wife and I quote to each other almost every day. I mean, we call each other Pumpkin and Honey Bunny. So.
I love you, Pumpkin.
I love you, Honey Bunny.
I say a please would be nice all the time, but
I call my wife motherfucker all the time. Is that...
Well, I'm a mushroom cloud laying motherfucker.
All right, Eric, give us your honorable mentions.
A lot of these really set the tone for, in many cases, drama, right? I wanted to include something with some comedy. The opening scene of Super Troopers.
You smell something, Rabbit?
Fear.
Are you familiar with this, Brad?
Oh yes, yeah.
Poor kid in the back seat has to eat multiple bags of weed and mushrooms or whatever. The cops are just screwing with the kids. They leave and come back and they say the same thing just to mess with the kids. That entire sequence is hysterical. The kids are scared shitless. Yeah, candy bars. I mean, what more can you ask for? That's hysterical. Josh will like this. Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road.
I don't give a shit about this movie.
Fuck you, man.
This movie's amazing.
No. Thank you. That's one we.
I mean, it's there and back again, but it's fine. It's totally great.
Pure garbage.
But when he swings out onto the hook, and then he comes back and they drag him into the door. The door's shut. They got the thing over his face. And then you get that title card, which is metal as fuck. Chrome ass Mad Max with the fire Fury Road. You're like, buckle up. This shit's going to be like a fucking crazy ride. And it is. So I love that movie.
Buckle up for a movie that has Mad Max and mostly Furiosa.
Furiosa's awesome. It's
Furiosa's
Furiosa,
awesome.
not Furosa. Okay, you don't know shit. Also, my next one. I watched the beginning of this movie thinking, hell yeah, dude, I love The Fifth Element. The beginning of this movie is so rad looking. It looks beautiful on my brand new TV. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Movie is not great after that, in my opinion. But the opening scene is so cool.
Just so much chemistry oozing off the screen in that movie.
I hate Dane DeHaan or whatever his name is. I don't like that other girl. Rihanna's cool. But that movie starts so great. I love the look of it, that beach. And I've got a new one
Well, that was 3. Whoa! Are you cheating?
I know. I have one more. I have to mention it. Sorry, Josh. May I?
I'll allow it.
Thank you. I just watched the All Quiet on the Western Front.
Ooh.
Oh, the new one on Netflix?
Yeah. Yes. It's excellent. First of all,
spoiler alert, is my favorite film of last year.
Oh, well, hell yeah. It was great and heavy, obviously, but the opening scene, you see a battle scene and you watch as these men unfortunately die, and then you watch as their bodies are getting carried, and then they're stripped, and then their clothes are shipped via train, and then they're washed. And then you see the seamstresses patching holes from the bullet holes, explosions, tears, whatever in these things, and then you see our main characters get their uniforms handed to them that have been, handed down from previously dead soldiers, and you see the machine of war right then in the opening of the film, and it is incredibly effective, beautifully shot, beautifully composed. Every scene of that film is beautifully composed, first of all, but
for as dirty and muddy as it is, like, it still looks
it's
beautiful.
It's gorgeous. I mean, like, you want to talk about, people talk about like movies where every frame could be framed and put in a picture on your wall. That's what this movie is like. It's absolutely gorgeous, but the subject matter is, of course, incredibly bleak and dramatic and terrible. But damn, that opening, watching, basically following the uniform go from one soldier to another, is incredibly effective. And so I had to put that on the list. It's too soon to put it on my all-time top 4, but I had to include it.
All right, well, it's time for the big reveal of the number ones, our number 1 opening scene. Brad, I'm throwing it over to you. Hit us with the
Brad.
big one.
Yeah.
What's your number 1 opening scene of all time?
I'm curious if we'll have some overlap here. Let's go, Brad.
Yeah,
well,
me too.
While not my favorite one of his movies, I consider this his best film. It is from 2009. It is Inglourious Bastards.
It is mine as well.
Yes. So when she moves the blanket out of the way and you see the Nazis coming up there, and it, well, first we get in Once Upon a Time in Nazi occupied France.
Yep.
And then you get speaking French. And then you get Hans Landa. And then you kind of get this building of tension.
No, you can't gloss over the introduction of Hans Landa. Like, he's one of the best on-screen villains of the past 20 years, dude.
Merci.
Yeah, he is.
This guy comes on screen, and like, this is the not even the introduction to Hans Landa, but introduction to Christoph Waltz, basically.
Christoph Waltz built a career off this scene.
Yes.
And oh man, like him walking in the door to this cabin, and like just again throwing his dick on the table,
dipping his dick in his milk glass.
Well, when he pulls out the pipe, it's like, my dick is bigger than your dick. But my favorite part of this scene, and it's such a little minor detail, but they walk in and the girls are his daughters are standing there. He gives a look to Charlotte, and she looks down and looks back up, and he kind of looks down. Like, there's something going on here that isn't right. And then Hans Landa starts talking about rats and how Jewish people were like rats and they would, dwell under the floor and all this stuff. And then like there's this buildup of tension. It is just an unbelievable scene. So Kill Bill Volume 2 came out in 2004. This one came out in 2006. In between, we got Death Proof. And a part of me was like, maybe Tarantino isn't, I don't know. Like, what? Death Proof isn't my favorite.
2009.
Yeah, 2009. So, like, Death Proof's 2007. And
I know, that was shaky, wasn't it?
And I'm like, uh-oh. And then he comes out with Inglourious Bastards, and I'm like, this guy is unbelievable. He took it to a whole other level. Like, the step up, like, I love the Kill Bill, but the step up from just a filmmaker quality from those films to Inglourious Bastards is... And I know, like, he says he saw There Will Be Blood. He saw No Country for Old Men. It was like, it made him a better filmmaker because of the fact that he saw those. He was like, I don't know if I could do those. Then he comes out with Inglourious Bastards, and the rest is like, it's a perfect film. You know, they speak 4 or 5 different languages in that movie. It's got just great scene after great scene.
This scene builds so much tension, and Tarantino did that with us in Pulp Fiction with the cheeseburger scene, basically. I mean, you're building tension there, but this was something. I remember watching this for the first time going, I don't know, is this a Tarantino movie I'm watching? Like, it didn't feel like something of his.
No, he leveled up with this, and I think, kind of like I was saying, I didn't want to include All Quiet on the Western Front because it was so new. I think people are kind of holding off on Inglourious Bastards to kind of let some time go by. Film people. I feel like Inglourious Bastards is truly like a masterpiece, and I agree. Like, this opening scene almost made my list, very close. I thought I'd see it on one of your lists. It's an example of Tarantino finding an actor that wasn't really known and putting a spotlight on him and letting him be amazing, which Waltz did.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
And then also, yeah, you're right. He improved on things that he had already done, like the cheeseburger, and brought it into a whole nother level of filmmaking where it feels epic. It feels.
I mean, the cinematography in that opening scene is amazing.
Yeah.
Unlike
just
anything
think about
he'd shot before.
Just think about his original cast that he wanted. He wanted Leonardo DiCaprio to be Hans Landa. And it's how much of a different movie that is when it's not Christoph Waltz. Like, it
for sure.
It doesn't work.
No.
Leonardo DiCaprio is an amazing actor. It just does not work.
And it's even more mind-blowing to know that Christoph Waltz came on set and killed it as Hans Landa.
Is that the way you say it? That's a bingo.
You just say bingo. Bingo! How fun!
To then go into Django and us love him as his character, as Dr. King Schultz in that. So, the discovery of Christoph Waltz and the fact that he's brought into Tarantino's universe. I'm kind of sad that we haven't seen him since Django, but
that's a scene that we'll remember in 50 years. And right now it's still kind of fresh, and people want to say, yeah, that's great, but no, it's going to stand the test of time.
It's 21 minutes long.
The entire conversation between he and Monsieur Lapetite is really tense because you as a viewer don't really know what's going on until they show you what's under the floorboards. Right. And the moment he looks at the guy and just says, "You're hiding people under their floorboards, aren't you?" His face sinks, and then you look over at Hans Landa and his face changes. It changes the entire dynamic of that scene in that moment. And then the bloodbath that ensues.
Why don't we not talk so much about that actor? Because that guy across the table is doing an amazing job as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just to have to play off.
I don't know if he's just a French actor or what, but I don't know.
Yeah, he's just a French actor. Denis, I forget what his last name is, but it's Denis something. Denis.
Yeah, I mean, we all know Waltz is amazing, but that dude is the other side of that table.
Yeah, you look back on hindsight, he's holding his own with Christoph Waltz in that scene.
Absolutely.
It should be
absolutely is.
Definitely.
And if he wasn't,
applauded.
it wouldn't work so well.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
But I kind of figured Brad and I would cross over here. It was either going to be this or Pulp Fiction. Brad and I share the same kind of love for these two movies. I mean, I'm also on Brad's side with Pulp Fiction is my favorite Tarantino movie. Inglourious Bastards is his best movie. Yes. It is him at his peak. And
the only reason I didn't
kind of
pick
agree. I gotta agree.
Pulp Fiction at all is because I think the second scene with the introduction of Jules and Vincent is better. It's like, your second scene is better than your first. So I don't know if I could include your opening scene in the best. If the second scene kind of is way better to me.
But the way the opening scene plays into the finale of the movie is what makes it. So I mean, it was hard to kind of pick one over the other for this, but I have to give it to Inglourious Bastards just for the fact that they build such good tension. It's the introduction of an iconic villain in that scene, and I just love the way it ends too with him.
Au revoir, Shoshana!
It's a great opening scene, man. Well, Eric, that leaves you, my friend. You're gonna close it out with your best opening scene.
Well, it's a good thing I'm here because this is a scene that needs to be represented in a top 4. And your scene was excellent. It nearly made my list. I love it. But this scene truly is, I think, in my opinion, the greatest opening scene in film history. And I'm gonna have to go with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Ooh, yes.
This opening is basically, you could have this as a short for Indy and it would represent Indy for all time. This would be this lets you know everything you need to know about Indy for all three movies.
Yeah.
You get everything. You get traps. You get his sense of humor. You get how badass he is. You understand how he's afraid of snakes even.
And how much that hat means to him.
Yeah, and how much he loves his hat, and how and all his skill set. You understand that he, wants things to be in a museum. Maybe that'll be a British museum. Or that's an argument for another day. But the point is, he is about the art, not about getting rich. You get to learn everything you need to know about Indy in a amazingly cinematic way, and yeah, it's thrilling. I remember being a kid and watching this and it just blowing my mind. Yeah, it's got to be Indy. From the very first mention of this segment, or this top four, I knew it would be Raiders for me as my number one.
Is this the high point of all of the Indy action sequences?
I mean, gosh, the spherical boulder. I mean, rolling out.
There's nothing probably more iconic than that.
Right.
For sure.
Right. I mean, if you think Indiana Jones, you think this boulder rolling after him.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, and Indy is, anyone who's listened to the show knows I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. He was the hero of my childhood that I loved the most. So I had to pick this. I mean, that's just all there is.
I mean, you could argue with Jaws, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park.
Isn't that crazy that it's all the same director?
Saving Private Ryan, that Spielberg has written the book on opening sequences of films.
It's pretty nuts. You want to talk about, best opening scenes for a director? That's a strong list.
It also comes from, as you guys brought up earlier, James Bond, because he was very much influenced by the cold opens for James Bond. So he brought a lot of that into the films he was making. Like Nathan and I have talked about it on the show quite a bit about how we'll see scenes in Bond movies that are directly like scenes out of The Last Crusade, or stuff that was from Live and Let Die that influenced Temple of Doom. Like there's so much Bond stuff in Spielberg's work. It's crazy.
Yeah, the episodic nature of like the what do you call them? Like the like the pulp magazines and those kinds of things. I mean, that's where all this comes from. And Indy's just like a Bond character, really. I mean, yeah.
I would just call him the rugged Bond. He's a lot dirtier than Bond.
He's the blue collar Bond.
He's the American Bond, dude.
Great number one, man. Well, that's all of our top four. I mean, damn, we really didn't cross over at all. I'm surprised.
Couple, but yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised
Josh,
you and I didn't.
We had 50% of the same.
We didn't get Jaws on there, Josh. I thought for sure you were going to throw Jaws on there, especially with your current garb.
Kind of a misdirect. I mean, I've always talked about how my favorite movie is Jaws, and yes, it has a great opening scene, but for me, like, Jaws as a whole was just something special when I was a kid and now. So like the opening scene is just part of the whole of that movie for me. Like it continues to get better and better and better and better throughout for me. So yeah, it definitely deserves to be on a list, but it's more than just an opening scene to me. So
sure.
I almost thought about Star Wars as well. New Hope.
Yeah.
That opening scene.
Real quick, even though he's not here, Jason was gracious enough to send us his top four, so I'm going to throw those out there real quick. His number 4 was Scream, which would have crossed over with Brad. His number 3, Friday the 13th, 2009, which came up in my honorable mentions. The Dark Knight, which was my number 2, we would have crossed over there, Chainsaw and Dave. And if you know Jason, you know what his number 1 is. Halloween. I mean...
Jason, you're right, buddy.
75% horror. Good job. Yeah.
His honorable mentions he threw out were Jaws, Blade, and Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, Blade is good with the blood shower. Yeah, that's good stuff.
I need to go back and watch at least the first 2 Blade movies.
Dude, people sleep on the Blade movies. They don't get enough of their due now. People are always
I remember liking the second one a lot.
The second one's really good too.
Yeah, man, Del Toro.
Yeah.
Good shit. It's good for sure.
So any other opening scenes you guys want to just throw out there for the people and just say, hey, maybe this is something you want to think about? I mean,
I was told I wasn't allowed to do that, but
Watchmen. I think Watchmen has a great opening.
Stuff out there.
28 weeks later.
Ooh yeah.
Ooh yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I said Watchmen. I'll say it again. Watchmen.
Watchmen's a good one. Yeah. I also had Dawn of the Dead remake.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. With the girl and stuff. Yeah, with the little girl.
Yeah.
I brought up the It Chapter 1, the opening scene with the. Yeah, I mean, this was kind of a tough one for me to instantly think of some things. Like I said, I had to paw around a little bit and ended up knocking one down. But I mean, there's definitely. I'm always excited when a movie can capture me in the first few minutes. I mean, there's definitely the slow burns out there that you kind of want to sit and kind of meander with before you get into the whole shebang of the movie. But man, like off mic, Brad and I were talking about the beginning of Tenet and how Tenet is just kind of crazy. And Christopher Nolan is another one who's kind of drawn inspiration from Bond movies. You can see a lot of Bond coming out.
Dark Knight Rises opening is pretty good too. Yeah. I like the opening for You're Next.
Oh yeah.
With the Dwight Tilley band song. I listened to that song so many times.
That song's, you have to listen to that song so many times in that movie. It just keeps repeating over.
It made it on a playlist after that movie. I was like, Dwight Tilley band, let's go. You as listeners, share whatever you think for opening scenes. Let us know.
What did they do that in the comments below?
I think in the comments below would be an excellent. I mean, you could email it or, but comments would be the easiest way probably.
Well, Brad, what do you guys got coming up on Not a Bomb here in the next couple weeks?
Well, we are doing Bromance Month right now. So we've done Tango and Cash. We did Miami Vice, the Michael Mann film. And we're doing Fight Club. And then lastly, we're doing Showdown in Little Tokyo. So, yeah, those are our...
Showdown in Little Tokyo.
Yes, sir.
Is one of the best references to Dolph Lundgren's penis I've ever heard in my life.
Yep. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So I'm curious to look back on Fight Club with a little bit more critical eye, especially in 2023 with sort of the toxic masculinity tilt that movie has and consumerism and all that stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
It's hard to hate on Fincher, man. I love me some David Fincher.
He's got some great openings of films as well.
He does.
All right. Well, we're going to let fate determine what our next top 4 is going to be. We're going to go to the wheel.
Oh, shit. The wheel's coming out now? I did not know. Look at this wheel. God damn. Look at this wheel.
You spared no expense.
That's a real ass wheel. We got a budget on this show.
Yeah. 43 cents. That's our budget.
All right, let's see what happens.
Petty cash be damned.
I'm not going to go through what all's on here. We're just going to tell you what it lands on.
No, don't worry about it. Let's roll.
Ready?
Spin away.
If I start having a seizure or something, it's because I'm watching that wheel.
It's like The Price is Right. It's like the big wheel.
And our next top 4 will be top 4 parties in movies.
Oh
damn.
Parties.
Top 4 parties.
That's
we have a lot to choose from on this one, folks.
You have a whole series.
All right, so we're coming back with our next top 4. It will be our top 4 parties in movies for everyone. Brad, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be on that one, so you can't join in the party on that one. But we want to thank you so much.
You can leave a comment, Brad.
Wow.
You can leave a comment.
Nothing like being told you're not coming back. Oh, thanks, Josh.
Fate might decide that you do need to come back for that one. Who knows? We'll find out. But we want to thank you so much for coming on and doing your top 4 opening scenes with us. We had a blast. Hope you had some fun talking movies with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming, Brad. Good to see you.
And if you want to get some VHS Files merch, hit up our Redbubble store. You can go to the link in the description box below. Get you some VHS Files merch. Represent. Make sure to check out our friends over at Cavity Colors. You get 10% off your entire order at the VHS Files Podcast code in the description box below. So make sure you check that out. Until we see you the next time, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and we want you to be kind.
Rewind! I did it!
You did it! Good work!
Yay!
Hell yeah. Good having you on, Brad. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
What am I missing in the unrated version?
A lot of
Erect
dick.
Penis.
Dick.
Hogs. Lots of hog. Skarsgård hog.
Oh, really? Is it his actual hog or
I don't know.
Stunt
Why
hog?
are we having this conversation?
One could only hope.
Josh wants to know if it's Shorn or Harry.
No,
That's what Josh wants to
the
know.
record show. I did not bring this up this time.
The record shows otherwise, Josh. The record shows otherwise, my friend. You like pubes. Okay? Period. Oh
shit.
my God, Josh! You will cut that out of this episode.
I'm sorry, Brad. If I let
That
you
was
down.
awesome.
My earbuds fell out.
Whoa.
My earbuds shot out of my ears. That's getting cut. Please cut that.